Hi everyone, my name's Sarah and today we're going to talk about pruning tomatoes. Today I'm actually at my brother and sister-in-law's house. They started a garden this year for the first time and they have a beautiful property, much bigger than mine, and so they have a huge garden and it's been really fun helping them kind of get started. One of my friends asked me if I could make a video about pruning tomatoes, but mine are super heavily pruned, so it's hard to film that. But my brother hasn't pruned his at all yet, so I thought, oh, this is the perfect opportunity to make a video. So here is their incredible, huge garden. So these are their tomato plants. They've got 3 here, and they are totally bushed out and growing the way they naturally would. Now, at my house, my garden is a high intensity square foot garden, and so my tomatoes each get 1 square foot, so I have to really heavily prune them, or else they'll get full of disease and they'll grow into each other and it'll be a mess. Whereas these tomatoes, because they have so much room, they actually could just let them go and do their own thing, but we're not going to do that today. We're going to prune at least one of them way back to show you how to do it. So if you let a tomato go to its own devices, it actually would vine along the ground. We trained them to go up. So I've brought a stake with me. I only had 1 extra, so I'm only going to do 1. But what I'm going to tell them to do with their tomatoes is I'm going to prune back 1 for this video, but the rest, if they want to, they can let them just keep growing and just train them to go up. So the reason that it's become common practice to train tomatoes to grow up a stake or a trellis instead of just letting them naturally grow along the ground is honestly just because when fruit are on the ground, they rot faster, and also it's much easier for critters to get them. So by having them grow up something, you're much more likely to get the fruit for you to eat before somebody else gets it. So this is the plant we're going to be looking at today, and it is just so dense and thick, and there's so much growth on it, and it's really healthy actually. Her plants look healthier than mine. Which is probably just because mine are so close together. So the first thing we need to do is locate the main stem. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to find the main stem, and then I'm going to prop the plant up and drive my stake down right beside that stem. Alright, my stake isn't the most secure. I didn't bring like a hammer or something to push it down, but it will do for now. Okay, before we get looking at the plant, let's talk about suckers. Right here I'm going to insert a diagram of a tomato plant that I got from an Instagrammer, and I will link her Instagram below so you can go check her out because she has really good content. So there are leaves, there's the main stem, but then there's these things called suckers. And a sucker, basically, when you see a branch or a leaf growing out of the main stem, in like the armpit of the branch, there'll be another little branch coming out, and that's called a sucker. Now, if you leave a sucker to grow fully, it's basically like a tree that grows and has another trunk grow out of the main trunk of the tree. So you can let tomatoes get as many suckers as they produce. You're going to get lots of fruit, but it's not necessarily the best option. So you have to look at what's best for your garden. Here at this garden, with the tomatoes having so much room to grow, they probably could just let them totally go to their own devices and that would be fine. The only issue there is I would personally prune out some of the branches just so that there's enough airflow, because tomatoes are prone to blight and other diseases that are from that are from water staying on the leaves and it not fully drying out. So you want to make sure there's plenty of airflow. Now these suckers, I'll show you later in the video how to get rid of them, but we're going to remove the suckers so that it's all down to one single stem. The most popular way to have tomatoes is a single stem or a double stem, but like I said before, it's your tomato. Do whatever you freaking want to. Okay, so looking at the plant, you can see the main stem here, and then right off the bat there's two suckers growing right from the bottom. So I'm gonna go in and cut those away. I'm just trimming off all of the bottom branches. As your tomato grows up, you're going to cut away at least the bottom foot worth of branches because, like I said before, tomatoes don't like standing water on the leaves. So when you water, often there's splashback from when the water hits the ground. That's why I trim the bottom foot, maybe even 1.5 feet when they get really tall, so that that splashback doesn't reach the leaves. You definitely don't want any leaves touching the ground, so any leaves that are touching the ground, you just cut them right off. Okay, now that I've cut off some leaves and we can see into the plant a little bit better, you can really see those suckers. So, here's our main stalk, and then here we can see a split, 2 branches. So this bottom one is the actual branch, and this one that's coming out the middle is the sucker. And you can see how it's bumpy. Over here too, that's the branch, that's the sucker. Tomatoes have an incredible ability. They have these little hairs all over them, and they turn into these bumps. If those touch the ground, they'll actually turn into roots. The reason that the tomato does this is because it grows along the ground. As the stem grows along, it will plant more roots and be able to get more water. That's another really good giveaway, is usually the branches just get the little hairs, and the suckers are quicker to get the bumpy root part. So I'm gonna cut both of these off, but if we were higher in the plant, I would only cut the sucker. So I'd only cut that middle one and this middle one. And you wanna make sure you've got some nice sharp snips, because we want a nice clean cut for the plant to heal. Just like a human, if we get a cut, it scabs over and we have to heal. If you just rip it off and it tears the whole plant, it's more likely to get an infection. Okay, right above here is a perfect example of a new sucker. So here's the main stem growing, here's the branch, and this little thing is a sucker. Now this one's nice and thin, so I actually can just snip it off with my fingers. See, and it's just this little thing. And that's fine. So here's another sucker here. Even this one is just a little too thick for my liking, so I'm gonna cut that off with my snips. If you don't have proper pruning snips like these ones, these are mine, you can honestly just use kitchen scissors. Kitchen scissors work totally fine. The other thing you're going to need is something to fasten your tomato plant to the stake. A tomato plant isn't like pole beans or peas where if you put it up against like a fence or something, it will just naturally climb. You have to help it because it wants to crawl along the ground, just like a squash. So I use twine. I just use it because that's what I already had, so I was gonna go buy something else, but I know people use zip ties and floral tape, though I wouldn't recommend floral tape just because I feel like it would degrade very easily and break easily. But this is my 3rd year using twine and I like it. I haven't had any issues, so let's do that. Before I continue tying it up, I just want to show you now. So here's that main stem. See how there's no other things coming out except for here. So here's a branch, a little bug, we'll get rid of him. A branch, and then this is the sucker. So I'm gonna prune that away. Now, this branch, if you look, he goes right down to the ground. So I'm gonna cut him off too. There are so many reasons to cut off branches that touch the ground. The main one is it's a lot easier for bugs to crawl up your plant. A bug is going to take the easier route, so why make an easier route for him? The other thing is it's much easier for a plant to catch disease if its leaves are on the ground. So let's cut those away. See, I'm right next to the main stem, and it's a clean cut. So you can see a nice clean cut. Okay, so here's our plant now compared to, it was about the same size as this one. So I've cut a significant amount away, and I'm not gonna cut too much more at this point. I am gonna cut some, but I don't wanna cut off so much that there's not enough leaves for it to continue to grow. So I'm gonna leave the top a little bit bushier, and as it grows, you continue to prune heavily from the bottom, and then at the top, you can just remove suckers. Okay. Okay, I just want to show you this. So this is bad. So I tried to take this sucker from right here, and I didn't get a good thing, and see how I've pulled too much? So now I've pulled all that. Well, that's off the stem. Now that's gonna make a big gash in the plant and could potentially introduce infection. So this is what you don't want. Now here's where it gets tricky. So here's the main stem coming up. And I have to decide, is this the main stem or is that the main stem? I honestly don't know. So in this case, I'm actually gonna leave them both and we'll find out. One of these could be a sucker. I think that because there's those bumps, right? See, this one doesn't really have them, but these ones do. So this is likely going to become a double-stemmed tomato. The reason I'm being cautious is I don't want to top my tomato, meaning cutting off the top runner from the main stem. Because what that's going to do is it's going to stop the growth up on the tomato. If you have lots of room like this plant and you do top your tomato by accident, it's totally fine. Just let a sucker grow and that will become the new leader. So nothing to worry about in that case, just let a new sucker grow. Now once your tomato has your first good pruning, it's just about upkeep. So for me, every morning and every night I like to take a walk through my garden and see how things are. I water every morning, and I've actually made a video about watering, so if you want to know more about that, go check that out. From here on out, it's really easy. So as you're walking through your garden, you're just going to look through for those suckers. So you're watering your plants, you got your hose in one hand, with your other hand you're looking through all those branches, trying to find those suckers, and you just pluck them off when they're really, really tiny and they come right off, and it's easy. If you leave them till they get more established, that's when it becomes a little more difficult to tell if you've got a sucker or if you've got a branch. So The younger they are, the easier it is to see. It's all about staying on top of your plants. A great reason why you should prune tomatoes as well is you can actually propagate the suckers really easily. You know, you're in your garden and you think, oh man, I totally could have planted more stuff. You can just let a sucker grow a little bit on a tomato, then prune it off, throw it in a cup of water until it grows roots, which doesn't take very long because they want to grow roots. And then just throw that baby in the ground and you've got a whole other tomato plant. You can see those white roots? So this plant's been laying down like this and it started to grow out roots. So we're gonna have it propped up and cut those away. So here's that branch I just showed. See, it has some roots on the bottom already growing. So I cut it, and like this is a well-established sucker that even has other suckers growing off of it and flowers. Like, that's a full plant. So I'm actually going to take it inside and throw it in a cup of water for her, and then now she has 4 tomato plants. Why not? And now I'm just pruning back her other plants for her, and look what I found. Little baby tomatoes. My sister-in-law is going to be so excited. I don't even have baby tomatoes yet. Okay, now we're back in my garden because I just wanted to show you the difference. So here's my tomato patch, and I have 9 tomatoes in probably less space than my brother and sister-in-law have 3. You can see mine are super heavily pruned. They're very sparse. And here, there's a sucker that I didn't catch, so I'm just going, I think I'll go back with that later with snips. And up here, so here, there's a little sucker there, so I'm just going to pop him off. This is the main stem, and these 2 are new branches coming in. Like I said earlier, as I'm going through in the morning doing my watering and my normal walkthrough, I'm just going, looking through all the leaves, looking under all the branches for those suckers and pruning them away. Now you may notice after pruning your suckers that you got this yellow sticky residue stuck to your fingers. You may not be able to get that off with hot soapy water. Sometimes you can, but if not, try washing your hands with white vinegar. It will come off like a dream. Okay, I gotta go. Okay, well, that's it. It's that easy. I hope you learned something in today's video. If you have any further questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll be sure to respond. I hope this helped you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later.